Would you like to become a fascinating personality, break free from plateaus, and gain power over your mental resources and your full potential? You came to the right place. Welcome to a magical journey to yourself. This show is made in Germany. If you like the show, please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or puremindmagic.club. Welcome to Season 1, Shaping Your Reality. And here is your host, international magician, speaker, and book author, Victoria Mavis.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a new episode of the Pure Mind Magic podcast. Today is Friday, Interview Friday, and before we start with another interview that is just around the corner, I have an offer for you. A free audiobook is waiting for you. You can choose for yourself, very easy, by clicking on the link in the show notes. And with that, because I'm an affiliate partner now, you can support the Pure Mind Magic podcast and get some great value for that. So our guest today is Dr. Vic Manzo. He's a chiropractic author and neuroscience mindset trainer. So he will train us in neuroscience techniques to improve our focus, productivity, and success. So let's start with this interview. Hi, Dr. Vic. How are you today?
I am doing well. I'm excited to be on. So thank you for having me on today.
Very good. So we just found out in your time zone, it is only 7 a.m. in the morning. But to me, you look so full of energy. So what is your secret to that?
Every morning I get up, I have a unique a ritual that works for me to get me centered, to get me to be the best version of me. And Tony Robbins calls it the being in a power state. A lot of people have their own way, having your state of mind. I talk about being the best version. And so I do things like meditation, breath work, gratitude, a little bit of journaling. I let my wife know how much I honor and appreciate her every day. And it just really gets me in a good state of mind and to be able to really show up to be my best and be ready to rock and roll whatever I am, so I can show my best to the world.
Oh, that is really nice. So can you break it a little bit down? Because that was a lot of information, how that works, like what kind of meditation and how long does the whole process take, and what kind of journaling do you do? Do you have a journal for your gratitude, or is this one journal?
Yeah, no, definitely. So my meditation, it varies. I do a minimum of 10 minutes, and my meditations are I kind of look at things in a way to where I just focus on the peace within me. Sometimes I'll just focus on the breath. Sometimes I focus on my true self. Sometimes I'll ask a question. So it's a lot of variables with that, but it's a minimum of 10 minutes. Sometimes I do 20 or 30. It just depends where I'm at. Sometimes I'm in a meditation and I'm just in a really great state, and I'm blissing out, as I like to say, and I'm just connecting with my source, and all of us, I'll go 30 minutes, no problem. So those are kind of variables with that. And then I do a lot of breath work. There's a couple that I do. The Wim Hof method is one. Another type of breath work is it's a Kundalini yoga type, the breath of fire. And so I just, it's a great way to open up when you were doing breath work, it's really great to get oxygen to the brain, and just get all my cells to wake up. And that really what gives me my energy every morning. So I focus a lot on that. When it comes to journaling, it's real simple. About a couple of years ago, I've been doing gratitude, appreciation. I think of 5 things that I'm grateful for. And then a couple of years ago, I heard Oprah say that she would every morning wake up and just write down 5 simple things that she's grateful for. And all of a sudden, I was like, you know what? I always say these things in my head, but the power of writing is even more. And so I was like, you know what? Enough's enough. Every day, I just write down 5 simple things I'm grateful for. It can be as simple as like what happened yesterday, and I'm thinking, well, I was walking by and someone smiled. And here in Chicago, people don't look at each other and say hi to each other ever. But so if I saw that, boom, wow, so happy. Or I was working with a patient in the office, or somebody shared a compliment. It's the most simplest things. And there's a lot of power behind that, because the more you focus on the simple things in life and the smallest things, that makes you appreciate more of life, creates more happiness for yourself, more blissfulness, but it helps your mind you keep training your mind to focus and look for more of those. And so that's why I do that every single morning. And as a in a neurological wise mindset, you cannot be in a state of like frustration, anger, worry, fear when you're in a state of gratitude. And that's the power behind practicing gratitude every morning. So that's what I'll do every single morning, just to get me in that right state of mind.
That is very helpful, Dr. Vic. That sounds like kind of a magic trick to get in a good mood. And you were talking a lot about breathing and the different techniques there. So why would you say it is so important to focus on the right breathing? And can you maybe explain one of the techniques a little closer for the listeners?
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. So with breathing, it's so vital. I mean, it goes back to human history texts, and in every culture, they talk about it. In India and the Hindus, they talk about it as the prana, breath is life. And the way you breathe dictates your life. Buddhists talk about it in so many different ways about the breath. And so breath is, it actually slows your body down, and it allows you to really calm. It actually dictates a lot of things. And so if you think about it in a way, if you can remember for your listeners and yourself, anytime you've ever really been stressed out, angry, frustrated, you're going to notice a lot of your breathing happens in the upper part of your chest. You're shallow breathing a lot, and you're not taking nice, slow, deep breaths. And so breath can dictate a lot. So when you take better breathing practices and techniques, it gets more oxygen to the body and allows you to be a lot more calmer. On a neurological side, it helps a part of the brain, the nervous system. I teach it in my office as a brake pedal system, but it's known as your parasympathetic. And what it will do is just help to activate that system a little bit. So it actually will calm you down. It'll actually center your mind. It'll actually not get you so stressed out. And so that's the huge benefit. I mean, breathing helps. And I mean, let's face it, without oxygen, we can't survive at all. I think it's 4 minutes without oxygen and we're gone. So that's how critical breathing is for us. And I think as a society as a whole, and as I know in America, we're very stressed out, busy, go, fast paced. And I know Americanism is spreading across the world. And one of the things about that is a lot more people are becoming that way. And I think we don't breathe enough. So that's the aspect of that. When it comes to the techniques, Wim Hof is a technique. He has developed a technique to where his breathing pattern is you take a deep breath in as fast as you can through your mouth, and then you just let your body relax. And then you breathe in again, and you do this 30 times. And then on the last rep, you go ahead and take a deep breath in, and you just hold it. And what you're going to be amazed by is you can hold your breath for a very long time. I've held my breath for over 4 minutes. The max time, I think, was like 4 minutes and 10 seconds.
Wow.
And it's crazy because you're increasing so much oxygen into your body. And some people, when they first do this, they get real dizzy and lightheaded because you're not used to so much oxygen to the brain. But over time with practice, you get really used to it. And again, it promotes health, wakes up your cells. It's kind of, it massages like the brain. I tell some of my patients when I tell them to do this type of work, I'm like, you'll actually feel cooling in your ears. I'm like, especially if you're really go, busy, stressed out, I'm like, you're going to start to feel some cooling in your ears. And they think I'm crazy, but when they do it, they're like, yeah, I kind of felt something. And I'm like, body's calming. You're getting oxygen to the area. You're waking up the cells. And that's what you're kind of doing. So it's really, really powerful. There's a lot of science on that. And Wim Hof, he's a gentleman in Europe, and he's also he's done a lot of research about breathing itself, and I love it because he has a lot of movement behind him, and he's advocating about why breathing is so important. Here's they call him the Iceman, so I don't know if you know about him, but he's that guy who can sit out in negative 10 degrees in boxers and meditate sitting on snow for an hour.
Okay, that is really impressive, like also kind of magical. And I really like, Dr. Vic, that you have like the knowledge in both worlds, because I, as a magician, I mean, magic is an art, but there's also a lot of science involved to make it happen on stage. And I think it's the same with mindset. So there is a spiritual aspect to it, but it's also science. And you call yourself a neuroscience mindset trainer. Can you tell us a little bit what that exactly is and what it is that you are doing and helping people with?
Yeah. So neuroscience mindset trainer, I'm all about the mindset. The direction of someone's mind's in the director of life, and how it's kind of like, if you can imagine a visual of just being in a dark room, kind of like the miners that have that little thing on their heads and they have a flashlight right in front of their forehead. And so that's kind of like a mindset. It's a view. And if you're looking only in one direction, all you're going to experience is that one direction. The mindset is what attracts and creates your reality, in other words, because as being a magician, you understand this very well. It's all about focus. And whatever you're training your mind to focus on is what you're going to create your reality to be. There's things like the law of attraction. I teach a lot about universal laws. But I always tell people that we can go with thoughts. We can talk all day about your thoughts and how it controls your life. But I tell people, but you have 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day going on that are coming through your mind. And I said, research shows you probably focus about 40 to 50 only. And so what I teach is it's all about the focus. And so that's where the mindset comes in. The neuroscience behind it is all just the things I learned about neurology and the brain and how it works. How do you build memory? How do you create habits? How do you break habits? How do you create a lifestyle? And using mindset techniques to help train the brain. How long does it take? Research shows, depends who you read. I teach, it takes 30 days to break a habit. It takes 90 days to make it a lifestyle. And that's just neuroscience. And like you heard me say earlier about gratitude, the reason why I went to writing versus saying in my head, and why it's so important to anything you do when it comes to visions, things you want to create, things you want to experience, life partner, money, whatever it may be. If you write it out, you're activating all the centers of the brain. And in a law of attraction, manifestation type of process, when you do that, you increase the chances higher and higher to create, to attract that into your life of what it is you're trying to do. So all the stuff that I do is very neuroscience based. It's neurological based. It's understanding the brain and how the processes work, and using the mindset to train your brain to start seeing things in the way you want. Because if we don't focus on ourselves every single day, we're allowing the world to dictate their agenda for us.
Yes, that makes sense. So I like the scientific standpoint and how you can explain everything. So you were talking about focus and having a clear focus and what you want. But are there other neuroscience techniques that are helpful to create the reality you would love to have and live in?
Focus is where it all starts from, and then from there, it's the consistency of it all. Just like anything with the brain, in your patterns, you have the subconscious and the conscious mind, and the subconscious is the automatic tape that just continues playing, and 95% of people, or 95% of the time, you're letting your subconscious mind lead your way and guide your life instead of the conscious mind. And so when it comes to those type of things, it's the other thing I teach a lot on is mindfulness, because in today's society, we're not mindful enough anymore. We don't take a moment and enjoy. And I can say this, at least in America, my background's Italian. My family's all from Italy. So Italians have a little bit more ease. They care more about life and just enjoying themselves a little bit more. But here in America, the people are more, they're just go, go, go. It's amazing when I tell someone if they're driving, I say, did you pay attention to the trees, or what did you notice on your way to coming to the office, in my chiropractic office? And they'll be like, I don't know. And they're like, how was it when you enjoyed your last meal? What did you enjoy most about it? I don't know. And it's teaching the changing these habits and trying to create something new in a consistent way to really start to reconnect. So like every time you do something new or try to learn a new habit, the way the brain works is it's going to send you think of a rope like a connection. And it'll try to swing, and you're trying to make a connection, and you have to continually do it to eventually, you link to get there. Once you have that connection, then you just got to reinforce that connection. And your brain's doing this all the time with every single thought, every single emotion. And again, it all tailors back to your focus. And then what you focus on consistently is what's going to create your reality. So I always lead the way like the law of consistency. I don't even know if that is a law, but I just created it myself because I'm like, anything in life that's consistent is going to eventually become a reality.
Yes, that makes sense. So what would you say is a good way to program the mind for success?
Ooh, that's good. So first things first, what you want to do is you got to focus on a vision. I'm not a big fan of goals. I know a lot of people, when I say that, they're like, what do you mean goals? You have to set goals. And I'm like, goals are great, but there's something about the universe that knows more than us. And the universe is always working for us. So the thing you want to do is you got to create a vision of what it is you desire. You have to see it. You have to feel it. You have to sense it in all areas. And when you visualize it in your head, what you're telling your brain is when you tell the brain, you give the brain a vision. What ends up happening is the brain starts to tell the eyes what to look for. And so that's the beginning of the training process of how to really look for what it is. It's kind of like the awareness of if you get a new car. You get this new car, all of a sudden, you start seeing your car all over the place. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, sure. I think this is a good example.
Yeah. So your awareness, your eyes know what your brain, you see it, you can visualize it, you know it. All of a sudden, you can see it everywhere. And it was always there before. You just think it wasn't, because all of a sudden you trained your mind to look at things in a different. You're creating a vision. You know what to look for. You have clarity. You have vision. From there, you just have to focus to know that, okay, this is what I want. This is what I'm focusing on. And then the key to success is get rid of the distractions. That is the biggest thing, in my opinion, when it comes to people in their life that who are getting what they want, being successful versus the ones who aren't, is because they allow the distractions of life to get them. And that could be in any situation. It can be just simple as like being on social media, watching the news, watching movies, Netflix, whatever it may be, that's not in alignment with what it is that they desire. The people who don't let distractions get to them, they're ultra successful because they know for the fact that they have to keep their mind focused on what it is that they desire. They look at that vision every single day, no matter what. And so like yesterday I was at speaking and I was talking about this exact same thing. And I said, I was with a bunch of business owners and I'm going, one of the things about life is that, I asked how many people had goals. And then I said, how many people you have ever set goals and didn't get them? The whole room raised their hands. I asked why, and then nobody said anything. And I was like, okay, this is good. Let's dive into this a little bit. And so one of the things I was talking about is I said, same thing. I'm like, when you allow distractions in your life to pull away from the vision of what it is you desire, you're not going to achieve the results in the vision of what you want to have. So the way that kind of works is, let's say you want to be a millionaire. And you're like, I'm going to be a millionaire. This is who I have to be. I'm going to focus on the being aspect, not the doing, and who I have to become. And you study it, you read books, you listen to podcasts, you do all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, you have a major bill that comes in. And then you're like, oh, crap. I don't know if I can't do this now. I can't do that. And you start to have self-doubt. You get that negative thought process kicking in. That is what is going to halt all your vision. It's going to create a distraction, and it's going to separate you from your vision until you shift your mindset back to go, okay, this happened. It's okay. I just got to keep moving forward. I'm still going to get my vision no matter what. And I think that's where it comes down to. It's very like, and I talk a lot about this as being like childlike. As a child, you don't focus on all the things that could hold you back from what you desire. A child says, I don't care what happens. I'm getting this.
Yes, that is so true. And before we started the recording, you mentioned that a magician is really a good example for this distraction because for sure on stage, you have to distract people from what is really going on to create an illusion for entertainment purpose, of course, in this way. But you're so right. So this is the thing that can, keep you off from your dreams. So do you have another tip what to do when you get distracted? Like, I think the example with the big bill coming in was good and everyone can relate to that. So what would be the best thing, not giving too much energy in that event?
Yeah, no, totally. I love it. One of the things that I do, and I've been taught this over time, is you have to have an anchor. And an anchor is bringing you back to your why. Why do you do what you do? And I know it's a cliche, they say, don't worry about the hows, just focus on your why, and no, the hows won't matter. But it's really true. You have to have something to ground you. And it can't be, I made the mistake. I always wanted to be ultra successful. And my programming, how I was programmed as a chiropractor and how to be successful was seeing a certain amount of patients, doing this, being this. And it was just like a way of being told how to do something, but not really being me. And I was like, as I went down that path, I was going, okay, I mean, yeah, it's great to have money and all this, but I have to have deeper meaning behind what I'm doing. I want to be a trendsetter. I want to be someone who's being the leader of my community, being someone who is, and even in the mindset realm, as I'm shifting gears with that too, I'm looking at, I want to help unlock people's minds, raise their consciousness level so they can really understand who they are, create more fulfillment in their life, and have more inspiration, and understand that whatever you want to have, you can create that because that's who you are, really. And it comes down to what is that why? It has to be something true, deep, and real and raw with yourself. And it has to have emotions involved. It has to have that big, deep understanding why. And for me, I have a lot of different ones. Every time I go to speak on stage or going to go to speak at a corporation, I always tap into my anchor of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Who am I doing this for? Because it's not really for me. I was on another podcast and they were asking me about why did I write my book? Who's it for? And I said, it's for the world. It's not for me. It's for the world. It's my gift, and same concept. What is your anchor that's going to keep you back, to center you, to reset you? That's one way of doing it. Another way that sometimes I try to get back into balance is, again, meditation. It's focusing on centering myself again, because meditation is really, really all about focus. That's really what it is. It's just helping your mind be able to focus better, sharper. And when you can do that, you're more productive, you have more time. And when you're better at focusing, guess what? You can attract more in your life of what you desire because you minimize the distractions.
Very good. Another secret tip from you with the meditation and the anchor technique, I think, is also very helpful. So before we dive into your book that you mentioned, Dr. Vic, can you tell us how you created your reality with this massive success you have now? So what is kind of your life story? You mentioned you came from Italy. That is your origin. So what brought you to the United States and becoming a successful, charismatic person today?
So for me, I'm from America, but my dad's from Italy. And, but I was raised Italian. I had cousins that come from Italy and they'd be like, you're more Italian than us. We're Americanized more than you are. And I'm like, well, I don't know. My dad taught me Italian values. Growing up, my background, I come from a family. My parents are, they're blue collar workers, hard workers. My dad always, he worked at a grocery store warehouse and he laid carpet on the weekends. And, one of the things he told me ever since I was a kid was, he's like, I'm going to teach you what hard work is all about, so you don't do what I do. And it wasn't, I appreciate the lesson now, but when I was a kid and growing up in high school, I mean, he'll come home from work and be like, hey, you got to come help me with lay carpet. I'll be like, I got friends and plans to do. And he's like, I don't care. Let's go. And so it was one of those things. But he taught me really, really good values of hard work and what it takes to do what you have to do. And my dad was the type of guy who was a perfectionist, and everything that he did, he would always never shortcut anybody. In the construction world, there's a lot of shortcuts they take sometimes, and he would make sure it was done to the perfection. And I'm like, even some small things that nobody would ever see, he's like, nope, we're going to get it done right and do it right the first time. And so he built that type of framework in my head. My grandfather, who was from Italy, he came over with nothing, and he had a restaurant, massive success. And then he said, after I think it was 12, 13 years of that, he's like, I'm going to retire. We're done. And then 20 years later, he had to get back to work and things. But one of the things he always taught me was to he always used to say, don't be a dummy like me. And I was always like, you're not a dummy. But one of the things I learned from him is his tenacity, I call it stubbornness, but his will to be successful in anything he does. And so for me, that is one of the things that I allowed for myself to take in and utilize so that I can always keep moving forward. Because as a chiropractor, we in America here, we always have an uphill battle that we have to face. And I think those are the things that kind of help me keep moving forward and the work with through those things. But the other thing too is just I set for what I want to achieve in my life, and I say no matter what's going to happen, it will happen. And I just focus on that and that only. And that's pretty much how my successes happen. Now, I'm not going to say it was a smooth road. It was just, boom, I had a vision. That was it. And then it all happened. I'm human. I've had the negative thought processes. I've, financially, a couple of years in the business, with student loans and everything else, I went bankrupt. I had to. It took a year before I even made that decision because it was one decision I didn't want to do. But after I let my ego and pride go away, I did that. And then ever since then, I said, no more. I will never let this happen again. I won't allow this to be this way. And from that moment on, the world, the way the universe is always working for you. So I always teach people that, because no matter what happens in your life, the universe is going to, if it shows you something that's not good per se, like you think it's not great, there's always a beautiful lesson behind it, because it's showing you what you don't want. And most of the time you're attracting that based on what you're focusing. So it's going to throw it right in your face and say, here you go. Do you like this? And you're going to be like, I don't want to deal with this. And until you get sick and tired of it, you're going to keep seeing it until you do. And once you're sick and tired, that's where the transformation begins.
Yeah, that is the key point you mentioned now with the transformation, because you do have your own podcast. And I found one episode, and that has a title, Information Does Not Create Transformation. So it is the same like with magic, because when I'm reading a magic book, a new illusion, this is just information, but doesn't make the magic happen on stage, the entertainment. So there is this implementation and this transformation to make something happen with the information in the book. So what is this process of transformation, Dr. Vic?
Yeah, in the world we live in today, we're information era, right? How many, people, I see ads and things about CEOs reading 60 to 80 books a year. That's what the successful ones do. I have people who I listen to all these different podcast episodes, and I'm checking out this person now and that person. And I'm like, that's great. But if you never, the way I kind of think of it is information is just raw materials. And if we're in the kitchen, you can have all the raw materials in the world. But if you don't take it and make it into something that's yours, it's just information. And if you follow that information and not really make it you end up being a robot. And it's because, for me, when I first got into chiropractic, it was the same kind of concept. I was like, what do I have to do to be a successful chiropractor? Well, do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. And if you do that, you're good. Well, that was great. I did that, but I started losing me. My fulfillment went down. I was burnt out. I was overwhelmed. And I'm like, I love what I do. I don't get this. And until I started saying, you know what? I don't care what people think. I don't care what the trends are. I don't care what the experts are saying. I don't care what anything else is going on. I'm unique. I know I have my own way of seeing things. I'm going to take information, but for right now, I have a way of doing things. Your listeners may love this. I still read books. I still listen to podcasts. I still do all that. But what I do is when I read a book, I take one thing from the book and I say, how am I going to implement that in my life? When you start the transformation happens when you take something you learn and make it part of your life. For example, I know I've been mentioning meditation a lot. So meditation, I have to meditate every day. It's part of my life. It's not, let me do it today because of X, Y, and Z benefits. No, or because some expert has said, hey, meditation is really good for your health. Why don't you do it? I do it because it is a part of my life. No matter what someone says, I meditate. Just like my breath work, just like working out, eating healthy, those types of things. It's all part of my life. When you make it part of your life, this is the highest level of knowing. When you make it part of your life, that is when it really transforms. That is when it becomes a part of you.
I really love that. Make it part of your life. That makes so much sense. And it's not only the information. So, Dr. Vic, it looks like you have really a lot of knowledge and a lot of knowledge that you implemented already in your life. And you mentioned that there is a book out now from you. So what is the title of the book? What is it all about and how to get it?
Cool. My book is called Rediscover Your Greatness. And what it really is all about is a guide to creating an inspired and fulfilled life. The book, it shares a ton of personal stories of what I've gone through in the last 10 plus years. And really what it really is all about is really understanding you, really understanding who you really are. In an informational era, in a very logical left brain mind society, we like to label things. We like to categorize things, compartmentalize things. And so the more titles and labels we put on ourselves, the more we actually lose ourselves. Like, for example, I'm a chiropractor, right? I'm a neuroscience mindset trainer. These are all labels. That's not who I really am. Those are just labels that I have on me. But that doesn't define me. And the same thing goes for you and anyone else in the world. So in the beginning of my book, that's what I kind of break down. Who are you really? I wanted to answer that question right off the bat to really help people understand the power of who they really are. And then from there, it's all about using universal laws. It's like every game has rules. And there's rules because it helps everyone play and have an organization to how they should play. Well, in the universe and in life, we have rules too. They're called universal laws, and they govern not only us in our life in this world, but the whole entire universe is governed under these laws. And so what I kind of do is bring these laws out in a very simplistic way to help people understand how these laws interplay with our life and how you can utilize these laws to go ahead and create and attract whatever type of life you want to have. Because at the end of the day, you are the creator, you are the producer, you are the main actor, you are the other actors and actresses, you are the screenwriter, the writer, the everything when it comes to your movie of life. You're the author of your own book. You are the artist of your own, of whatever you want to create. And so every day we are creating consistently. And so in the book, it kind of gives all these different types of examples with the laws, like the law of attraction, law of association, law of consistency, law of the focus, what focusing is. And I utilize all these things to help empower people to understand that you are a big player in the game. And how you want your life to be and who you are going to be not only helps yourself have more fulfillment, but here's the biggest reason why, one of the biggest reasons why I wrote the book is because the more you can be fulfilled and the more you raise your vibration and your consciousness level, everyone else, you give other people the opportunity to do the same thing. And if we continue to help people focus more on themselves and help them grow and help them, and when I say grow, I mean on a spiritual level and a vibrational level. But the more we can do that, the more in society as a whole can benefit from that. And eventually, as more people do this type of work, eventually we can truly help the entire world as humanity raise to a higher level of consciousness to where we can help each other a little bit more, appreciate life a little bit more, and really help one another understand that we are actually all in this together. We are all interconnected. And so however I am affects you just as much wherever how you are affects me.
Amazing. So you convinced me already I have to have your magic book to create my own movie. I like that picture about it. So, and we were talking a little bit before, there is something new that is coming up that you created. And when I remember correctly, it is a 1-week program. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and the mindset thing around it and how it can help to create a better reality?
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to be launching in a couple weeks. It's a 1-week free program. Every day you'll get a video from me. And what it's about is sharing, every day I'm going to share a tool with you on how to create a disconnection to reconnect. And so what that means is, how am I going to help you disconnect from the world, disconnect from that busyness, disconnect from that left brain or mind-centeredness, logical side? And how do I help you reconnect back to the heart center? How do I help you reconnect back to your soul, if you want to say it, or your source, or however you want to label that? And so every day I share a little something that I either I've done in my life or I utilize to help an individual just reconnect, being back to them, to understand a little bit, to get in touch back with themselves. Because what I see every single day, what I'm seeing in society is that we are so disconnected. And when I say disconnected, I mean from your soul, your true self, the essence of who you really are. And we don't guide our lives with our soul or intuition. We guide our lives with our mind. And so the whole week thing is just to help people.
That makes sense.
To connect back to themselves.
I think intuition
So, yeah.
really is a big part, like connecting or playing more with the right side of the brain and not always being in the left side of the brain and thinking with the logical mind. Because as you know, so the logical mind thinks only from A to B and leaving out a lot of opportunities out there.
So true. Yeah, no. And I always share too sometimes with people, like the left brain is so limited. And, it can only process anywhere from 7 bits of piece of information, plus or minus 2. And I go, the right brain, it's so massive. I go, it can process, a couple million bits of information, plus or minus 2. So I'm like, plus or minus each. So I'm always like, I go, the right brain is so much more expansive. It can see things in so many more different perspectives than the logical mind.
Yes, so this is where the magic comes in then for creating and thinking and all that. So, Dr. Vic, you mentioned you are in Chicago. So when someone wants to see you in person or get an appointment, how is that best possible?
So you can connect, to do that. You can check us out a couple different ways. Our website, empoweryourreality.com. Great way to get a hold of me that way. That's one aspect of it. The other way to connect with me is also through Instagram. My handle is Dr. Vic Manzo. And now if you want to email me, you can do that also. It's drvic@empoweryourreality.com.
Okay, that is very simple. And I think we covered your book, your 1-week program with the videos coming out, as well as to meet you in person. Are you also offering some kind of coaching or mentoring?
We are. We're going to be launching in a couple more weeks. I think by the end of July, we're putting a 5-week program together. We're going to offer some group coaching to where we're going to be able to take an individual, work with just a small handful, 5 people is what I'm kind of looking at doing. And what I'm going to do is just help individuals really shape the mindset on a very neurological basis, give them some practices, give them some tools, and then help them hone their own practice so that after the end of the 5 weeks, they will be able to practice on a daily basis how to be in the power state of mind every single day, how to be a creator, how to not allow the distractions really get to you. And what are really distractions? And breaking that stuff down, and how does that activate in the brain, and all this, a lot of neuroscience based stuff, but I keep it very simple. But it'll be one of those things, and it's going to be on my website, empoweryourreality.com. We're going to be, like I said, in a few more weeks, we're going to be doing that. And we're launching a bunch of different group coaching type of things when it comes to that.
That sounds really magical. I like that. So for the end, Dr. Vic, do you have any special quote you collected or just really you would like to share, something inspirational for the listeners to have a magical day?
Oh, quotes. There's so many. Let's see. One of the ones that I like the most that I listen to, or I say often or read often, is by Lao Tzu. And he says that to master another person is strength. But I know I was going to forget it. But to master yourself is, now I got to look it up. Hold on 1 second.
Yes, just to make it clear.
I want to make sure I say it exactly how it's said. Apologize about that.
Thanks to the internet, everything is possible, right?
Let me see here. Here we go. And so what it says is mastering others is strength, but mastering yourself is true power. And it's really true. Like in my podcast, in the beginning of in the intro, I always say the greatest battle that you're ever going to have to face is between you and you. There's no one else that's going to be the bigger enemy or the bigger person to go against. You are your worst enemy and your great enemy. You're the one that helps you create success and less success. You're the one that at the end of the day, it always ends up coming back to you. So that's why I always tell people it's the best thing to do is just master yourself, focus on you, be authentic and true to yourself, because at the end, that's the one you have to be with. You're in the biggest relationship with you. And when you really improve and heighten your relationship, your connection, your love, your appreciation with yourself, that bleeds over to every single aspect of your life. If you don't focus on you, you'll never have whatever it is you desire. So you always, it all comes back down to you at the end of the day.
Yes, that makes sense. And of course, wherever you are in the world, wherever you go and what relationship you live, you are always involved in that, right? So there is always you.
So true. Yeah. And that's why, everything I do, my podcast, the book, everything, it's all about helping people just understand how to master themselves better. That's just what it comes down to. Because then, again, everything comes from you. Even in chiropractic, we have a philosophy that states the same thing. Everything is within. You can't change your external world unless you change your inner world first.
Yes, that are really good last words for this episode today. So, Dr. Vic, thank you so much for being on the show. It was really great. A lot of pleasure today and great information around the mindset. So I would like to have you back, and I'm definitely gonna check out your book.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to be back. I want to thank you for having me again. This was fun.
You're welcome. So bye-bye, Dr. Vic.
Bye now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed today's interview with Dr. Vic Manzo. Make sure to check out his website and his inspirational book. And if you're interested in listening to a book instead of reading it, just click on my affiliate link for a free audiobook in the show notes. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Pure Mind Magic podcast. I'm also happy when you leave a nice review for the episode. All for today, and next week is another great guest waiting for you. Her name is Erica Duran. She's a great coach living all around the world, and she will tell us why it is so important to get the mindset right and to declutter your life on every single level and what that means. She will also tell us why environment is so important and affects us on such a deep level. So make sure not to miss this interview next Friday. Tune in again. My name is Victoria Mavis. Until next time, create some magic.